a meteorologist from Berlin, Germany. One day, when Alfred Wegener was looking at a map, he noticed that the continents looked as if they fit together in each other like a puzzle. He was the first person to propose the idea that the continents were moving away from each other. He brought up his idea to fellow scientists. However, they mocked him for lacking evidence, and so Alfred Wegener set off on a journey to prove to them that the continents were moving away. The first piece of evidence that he found to prove that the continents were moving was found in rocks. Wegener saw that the rocks on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean in Africa and South America had the same type, thickness, and age. Alfred Wegener also found mountain ranges on either side of the ocean in the Northeast America and Scotland. He saw that the mountain ranges mysteriously ended at the coast and started up again the same way at the other coast across the ocean. From there, Wegener knew that the mountains couldn't possibly just stop directly on the coast. Alfred Wegener used these pieces of evidence to explain that the continents must have been connected because the rocks and geography were exactly the same. Alfred Wegener found was in animals. He found two species of animal fossils that were identical despite being on opposite sides of the ocean. He concluded that it would be impossible for them to evolve the same way across the ocean, and that they must have been in the same place at one point and then the continents moved away, separating them. He knew they couldn't cross the ocean because one species was land animal and the other species was a freshwater animal that would die in salt water. Of evidence to show that the continents were moving that Alfred Wegener found was in the form of plant fossils. He found the same type of fern known as the Glossopteris across the ocean. He knew the land must have moved apart because they couldn't have evolved the same way across the ocean, and because the fern plant was too fragile to float across the ocean and too heavy to fly across it. And when Alfred Wegener presented his evidence to his fellow scientists, they still rejected him and requested more. Alfred Wegener's next piece of evidence that he found to prove the continents were moving was found in coal. Wegener traveled to the Arctic and Antarctica, and in both of those places he found coal. That was weird for Wegener to find coal in such cold places because coal is formed when tropical plants decay. From this, Wegener found that his fourth piece of evidence by saying the continents must have moved because the coal must have been formed in a different part of the world. This means that the Arctic and Antarctica must have been somewhere warmer that can inhabit tropical plants. Therefore, the continents moved. Alfred Wegener's last evidence that the continents were moving was in the form of glacial deposits. Glacial deposits can be the size of ponds to lakes and are formed when glaciers melt. He found them in Africa and India and concluded that it was impossible for them to always have been there because glaciers could not have formed in such heat conditions. He then concluded that they had once formed in a more northern place and that the continents moved away. Keegan, I found coal for the video. Oh my god, diamonds!